You're going to get into an argument with Booker T at a TV taping. This is all from the Torch. Jarrett had a reputation for micromanaging certain aspects of the product, particularly overseeing matches. He stepped on the toes of agents by directly getting involved in laying out some of the matches, and he laid off for a while, but observers say he's overseeing the matches more closely again. Jarrett got directly involved in an angle that Booker was working on, and it rubbed Booker the wrong way because he felt he should have been given more leeway as a veteran of the locker room. Words were exchanged, but things calmed down quickly. Multiple sources have stated that while Booker speaks positively about TNA and Jarrett during interviews, he's not a fan of Jeff's work as the head of creative. Meanwhile, Booker has a reputation for throwing star fits from time to time. That's directly from Wade Keller and the Torch. What can you make of this report? Do you remember a disagreement with you and Booker? Do you believe that you were maybe interjecting a little too much in matches? And what do you make of the comment that Booker had a reputation for star fits?
I mean, when you kind of read that entire paragraph, it's partly cloudy, or it's kind of partly sunny. I think there's a chance of rain, but there's also a chance of sunshine. I mean, it's Jarrett micromanaging, but Booker's known to throw some star fits, and they had an argument, but they made up after it was over. I don't have any recollection of me and Booker having, I'll call it a personal argument, disagreement, having words in our entire career. Has Booker ever been, and I hate to use the word afraid, but that's not our relationship. He would come up to me, not just about his stuff, on anybody's stuff. Hey, Jeff, can I have a word with you? Let's talk about this. Hey, man, why don't we do this, this, and this, and this? I always showed him the respect and heard it out. And he's creative. He cares. He had passion. I think once he got to TNA and was there long enough, I think the realities that we weren't the WWE, and I think sometimes Booker came to work and look, he always did what we asked and he worked hard, but I think the bloom was off, and I think he was ready to go when it was time to go. But Booker's a passionate guy, and to this day, he will, in a positive way, light somebody up with his opinion. But in his reason for doing that is he wants a better product. He loves wrestling. Period. He's grown. You know, look at reality wrestling. I mean, it is a force. What is it? Almost 1 million YouTube subscribers and everything that goes with it. That to me is a testament that Booker is invested in the business in more ways than just wanting to be Booker T. He's always been that way. He wants to dive into the business totally.
Let's talk about a report from the Torch about third-party bookings. It's written in the Torch that has decreased in recent months because the company, quote unquote, jacked up the booking fees for the top names. It was a conscious effort to weed out smaller bookings, and there was a feeling internally amongst most of the top talent appearing on indie shows that it was hurting TNA house show business in some markets. There hasn't been too much griping by the top talent over fewer indie bookings. What do you remember of this? Was this a paradigm shift where you were trying to protect the brand? Or is it just a function of, hey, man, we got them on TV, we got them under contract, so you're going to pay us more money if you want them?
Now, I'm not going to say never. We had this set of circumstances about hurting house shows in other markets. Maybe there was something of that. Some independent promoter wanted them in a market, and we knew that we were coming to that market with a pay-per-view in 4 months. I'm pretty sure we would discourage that to the talent. But as far as jacking the rates up, to my understanding, it was always a mutual, hey, what do you want to charge to go on, to make an independent scene? What do you want for travel? What do you want for accommodations? And it was a collaborative effort, but they set their price. And then as an administrative, like any form of a booking agency does, add on their 10%. Hell, that's just the simplicity of simple administrative costs if we're going to administer all this. So we didn't jack up the price, and maybe on a case by case it discouraged it. But look, again, it's good content to report in a newsletter because it's news.
There's another report from the Torch that says one source pointed out that TNA rarely releases anyone. Quote, Jeff doesn't like to fire anyone. He just doesn't work that way. The source noted that TNA has taken the approach of trying to make unwanted talent miserable enough that they quit on their own. More often than not, they'll fulfill their guaranteed number of dates and simply not renew. I realize that that was written where it was made into a negative, but I feel like this is you doing your best to try to honor the contract. And I know that some of our listeners would say, well, that's not fair. But at the end of the day, you're a businessman and you understand that this is the wrestling business. And these guys aren't just coming to wrestle because they love the competition. They're paying bills. This is how they feed their family and keep a roof over their head and yada, yada, yada. So if you made a agreement, hey, I'm going to pay you this amount of money for this number of shows, you're probably going to see that through. And if they're not happy with their creative and want to leave, well, maybe it's a self-correcting problem. Was that the attitude?
Man, when I look back on all of this and really drill down, and we just kind of talked about serving two masters, the pay-per-view world or the television ratings world, that was a ongoing battle. And then on what we're talking about, the talent situation was, you know, when I look at times shoestring, but there was a lot of times, I mean, just a very, very tight budget. And when you sign guys, it's when let me say this, when you sign guys, but when you're writing a show, we just alluded to it, always kind of that bottom 10% you got to churn. But look, I mean, to keep at that time we were producing 3 hours a week, 2 hours of Impact and 1 hour of Explosion for international. So we were producing 3 hours and I can remember looking at Explosion, creating that third hour, that, you know, the kind of the talent that would be, I guess you could say, left to book on that, we would come back to rematches and this and that. So I was always, and it was difficult with Dallas and Panda and the investor, that you would like, I would love to have the luxury to have 8 to 10 guys that, you know, just a bigger roster. It's so much easier. But when you're really X amount of slots and X amount of talent, sometimes the math just doesn't work. It's very, very difficult. Does that make sense to you, Conrad?
Yeah.
Yeah, just that was another ongoing battle, that there never, ever, ever was a solution, because I understood the talent. I can't tell you how many times I used to tell Bob and Janice on different occasions, I look, I'm a talent. I was, up until TNA started, for 6, 7, 10, 12 years, I was only a talent. I understand what they want. They want to work and they want to get paid, and they're really not bitching. They're just got to pay bills and want to wrestle. And on the flip side, well, we're not a charity. We're not just going to hand out money and not get a return for it. So it was difficult. Another reason why I wanted to run as many live events as possible is to give guy work. Oh, the joys of running a day-to-day business, right, Connie?